Tell me when we're ready.
Looks like we're ready. I'm trying to get into YouTube. It's a little bit of a delay.
Is Keith here yet?
Flexing on us, Dave. What the heck?
Okay. All
I
right.
missed that. I was looking at something else. What were you doing?
Let's call to order this joint workshop of the Pleasant View Planning Commission and the City Council. Welcome, everyone. We're glad that everyone's here. Those that are joining us, those that will join us, I'm sure. So we welcome everyone. Today's kind of a different meeting. We've not had one for well, I haven't been to one since 2012, but I did go to one then. So we'll start today's meeting with an opening prayer, reading, or expression of thought by Councilwoman Arrington.
Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we could meet together tonight as a City Council and Planning Commission and staff, and grateful for all the efforts that are put into these kind of meetings. And we pray that as we collaborate together, that we'll be able to make some progress for our city, and that we'll be guided, and also that we'll be insightful on the things that we need to talk about and move forward with. And we're grateful for the opportunity we have to serve in the community, and we pray that we'll be able to do those things that will be best for the citizens and for this area. And we're so grateful for our police force and for the protection that they give us, and for the kindness they exhibit from day to day to each one of us. And we pray that we'll be able to reach out to our neighbors and be good citizens and help others along the way. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Councilman Marriott if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good. Everybody rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
For all.
All right. I'm required to read this little statement. In accordance with Utah State Code 524207 4A, the Mayor Call, hereby makes the following declaration: that a state of national and state emergency has been declared in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that Governor Herbert has extended the emergency declaration for Weber County issued on July 24th and extended to August 6th. I'm hoping it went further than that. And that state code has been amended to allow the conduct of electronic meetings in an emergency without an anchor location, and that the mayor or pro tem mayor shall read or cause to be read at each electronic meeting the reasons and facts behind the declaration. And therefore, Pleasant View City Council shall hold electronic meetings as provided in the state code, and signed by Mayor Call. Okay. So, as was mentioned, this is kind of a unique meeting, meeting together with City Council as well as members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So what we'd like to do first is just go around the neighborhood. That sounds weird, huh? And just have everybody introduce yourselves. Since you don't, I'll just call out people and you can introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about what you do for the city and a little bit about your background. So just hold it real short because we're trying to finish before the mayor gets here. Not really. Tell us all you want to do. All right. So we'll start with Bill Kobe.
All right, thank you. My name is Bill Kobe. I'm the city administrator for the city. I have been doing community service. That sounds funny, doesn't it? It sounds like I've been convicted of a crime. I've been working for different cities around the country since 2016. I'm sorry, 2006. My goodness, it's really been that long. And It is my pleasure to be in my 4th year of service here at Pleasant View City, and I love it.
Thank you, Bill. We love having you here too. I'm Kevin Bailey. I'm a member of the City Council. I've lived in Pleasant View for like 23 years, I think. This time, and a few years before. Second go around on the City Council. Love being here. Love the staff. Really proud to be able to serve. Ann?
I'm Ann Arrington. I'm serving on the City Council. I'm new there, still getting my feet wet, still learning what's going on. Served a couple of years on the Planning Commission and enjoyed my stay there. I also have been a Pleasant View resident for a long time. Grew up here, went to Loma View Elementary. So went away for a couple of years and just had to come back. This is the best place to live in America.
Thank you, Ann. Jill, go ahead.
I'm Jill Hunt. I'm the planner tech for Pleasant View. I've been with Pleasant View for about 2.5 years. I do the building permits and all the planning applications. I present to both Planning Commission and City Council, and I kind of keep things organized with the records and all the projects.
She is the beating heart of our city. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She does a great job for us.
Okay, Sarah?
I'm Sarah Uri. I've been serving on, this is my 5th year on City Council. I have lived in Pleasant View most of my life, except for a couple of years in serving a mission in Ohio. I have a background in banking with construction and mortgage loans, and also work as a paraprofessional at Loma View with the cute little kiddos in our community. Just have a great interest to serve on behalf of the residents and love where we live. I grew up here and made my husband move from North Ogden to the Promised Land so that we could be in Pleasant View and enjoy the great community that we have.
Not biased at all, is she?
Not at all.
No.
It's the truth.
Sarah. Alicia?
I'm Alicia Lund, and I've been on the Planning Commission since the tail end of 2018 while I was finishing my bachelor's at Weber State in city planning. And so I'd really like to be a city planner. I started to get interviews and then COVID happened. So things have really slowed down in that department right now while cities are struggling to kind of gain their footing back. So I'm just really excited to be part of the commission because I'm learning a lot and I really like it. So where I'm at.
Good, thank you. Thanks for your service. Councilman Marriott.
I can get off mute here. Yeah, so I'm Dave Marriott. Been on the city council for a short little, 6 months now, 7 months now. Been in Pleasant View for 20 something years, 21 years now. And I used to live next to Kevin Bailey, so that's my fame there. But
He
really
moved away, by the way.
really like Pleasant View, and we've loved living here and raising our family here. I'm excited about the topic we're talking about tonight, and this is definitely something we need to get going on. I'm an engineering manager at Autoleave. I've been there for over 25 years and enjoy working there as well.
Great, awesome. Thanks, Dave. Holland, we're gonna let Bill introduce you, but you can tell us where you live and stuff. Just don't tell us what you're here for.
Go for it, Bill.
Well, I think we have other people. She just wanted to get a quick intro from you.
Okay.
Okay. Nate, are you there? Unmute yourself and talk to me.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, tell us about yourself.
My name is Nate Karras. I've lived in Pleasant View for a little over 20 years. I have a background. I'm actually a civil engineer, but I'm working as a structural engineer now. So I have background in civil. Had the opportunity to be civil engineer for many different cities along the Wasatch Front. Worked for consulting firms. anyway, that's it. Been on the planning commission for about 3 years. So just enjoy being involved in everything that's involved in the city.
Perfect. Thanks for all you do, Nate. Keith?
So I'm Keith Priest. I've been on the planning commission for 5 years now. Am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. Enjoy the service. Wife and I have lived in Pleasant View for over 15 years, but I've actually worked out in this area for 26. I work for the, I guess I have to say it properly, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm the facilities manager, currently working in the welfare department. And I love the city. I love the community. I love the people I work with. And I'm also glad that we've got this format and excited to move forward with a direction on how to improve the city.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
My name's Andy Neff. My wife and I lived here for, I don't know, around 25 years. I work in manufacturing, and we've been raising our family here. We've been lucky enough to raise our 3 children here. I started out on the Board of Adjustments, enjoyed that for a little while before I was lucky enough to join the Planning Commission. Been able to watch it change and watch the city grow up for a while. So been enjoying the changes.
Has been growing, hasn't it? All right, thanks so much. James?
That's you, Jim.
Oh, okay. Can you guys see me okay? I'm using a backup computer. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. My name is Jim Cummings. I've completed 2 careers. One as an Air Force pilot and the second one out at the rocket factory. I've been with the Planning Commission for about 5 years, and it's really been an interesting experience because it's so completely different from anything else I've ever done. And it's quite a learning experience to understand how a community works, and that's really good. I hope that we can continue on in this capacity and make a difference for the benefit of the community.
Well, thanks for serving the community, Jim. We appreciate your help. Next on the agenda was some initial thoughts. You have anything else to add, Anne?
Just short and sweet. I'd rather hear from Holland, but I'm excited to be together tonight. When I started on the Planning Commission, we kind of worked on a lot of things, and I've also tuned into some Planning Commission meetings. And just the Planning Commission works super hard, and then the City Council works super hard. And I just want both of those things to come together and us to have a direction together. So I'm excited to just kind of get together and get our goals aligned and get some progress going. So I think it's great that we're collaborating tonight. So that's my initial thoughts there.
Good job. Sarah, did you have anything else?
Very much along the same lines of the idea was to get us all together in the same room and work within the scope of our general plan and what our focus is as a community, and use all of our talents and attributes to be able to, collaborate and think outside of the box and get creative in promoting economic development, specifically with this discussion tonight as one step to many others, I hope.
Good job. All right. Keith, you were on the agenda for initial thoughts.
Yeah, so I appreciate the time. As Sarah and Ann can attest, I've been trying to get these meetings, joint meeting with the Planning Commission and City Council for some time. I think it's very informative, and I think it's great to collaborate on the vision that we have for the city. A couple months ago, we was in a public hearing and we was on YouTube. And I felt a little bit awkward because the motions that were coming to us had already been grandfathered in, and it just seemed like a effort in futility that was just going through a lot of redundancy. So I would like, and what I would hope from this joint meeting with staff and council and planning commission is that we can all get on the same page. So we know what direction we want the city to go. We want to kind of get away from the good old boy club. I don't mean to offend anybody that way, but sometimes people are promised things because of their position. I think Bill promises everybody everything. Bill, I'm joking. Bill, you're not smiling. I'm joking. Anyways, it would be nice if when people came with a application, and as we discussed it, we're discussing it openly, hopefully within the guidelines of zoning and with the guidelines of the ordinances. Now, I know we're in the process of redoing the ordinances, and I'm looking forward to that. As Ann and Sarah can attest, we spent hundreds of hours going through that, only to find out a lot of it is null and void. So with these joint meetings, we can get on the same page, hopefully move forward, and then we won't have these awkward discussions come up where somebody petitions and they're grandfathered in, and I'm wondering why did we go through this exercise? So this is definitely a move in the right direction. I hope we can do it at least quarterly. I think we talked about monthly for the first 3 months, and then hopefully we'll be able to gel. There's an old saying that says storm and form. Whenever you have a new organization that starts up, it's called storm and form. So I suspect the first few meetings we might storm a little bit, and then my hopes is that we'll form and gel and we'll get on the same page. So thank you.
Well said, Keith. I will, on behalf of the mayor, I'll echo everything that everyone said. I know that there's been a lot of effort, individual effort, gone into economic development in the city, and I think that this is the right direction to go. We're going to have to do it together because we've all, in a way, we've all tried separately, and we're going to have to pull together or it's just not going to work. So really super glad. I did leave one person out that's probably like the key pin of the city right now, and that's Laurie. I didn't ask her to introduce herself. She's always quiet and often gets left out. So Laurie, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I just prefer right here to be hidden. No, I'm city recorder. Just been here for a long time and glad to be here.
How many years is it, Laurie?
About 28.
28
And she
years.
knows laws like the back of her hand.
If
She
Jill
knows-
is the heart, Laurie is the brains.
Yes.
Brain at work.
Well, the purpose of tonight's meeting was to have Holland talk to us for a little while and help focus us, run us through the funnel so that we all come out the small end. I think we're pretty used to getting poured in the small end of the funnel and coming out the other side. I'm excited to hear what she has to say, and I'll let Bill introduce her, and then we'll just turn the time over to Holland after that.
Thank you. I'm actually just looking at Holland's LinkedIn page, and it looks like you might need to update that, Holland. But from what I can tell, you've been at the county for 7 years. Is that right?
I have, yeah.
And you've worked in marketing and economic development that entire time, and that's fabulous. I'm also showing that you got a bachelor's degree from Texas Tech, so guns up.
Oh, are you a Red Raider too?
No, but I love Texas and love Texas sports, so.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to get along just fine.
So what we're hoping to hear from you, though, is what you do for the county specifically and how we can work together to make awesome things happen in Pleasant View.
No, this is incredible. And thank you, Bill, and everybody for having me be a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. So just to give a little background on myself, I am originally from Texas. I worked for a development company in Dallas for 10 years and then moved, fell in love with an Air Force pilot, ended up in Utah, fell in love with Utah, and we decided this was going to be home. So we have made it our home. We have 2 kids and too many dogs. If anybody has dogs, you know what I mean by that. I've got puppies running out my ears right now. But we love it here. And I had an opportunity to work with an engineering company out of Salt Lake for about 5 years. And then after that, I moved to the county and I've been there 7 years and I worked in communication, PR, and economic development. And all of that meshes together in a way that we build our business community and then we message it out so that more of the business community would come here. And I just got to tell you guys, this is really cool to see. You know, I was taking some notes on some of your backgrounds and so many long-term residents and people that love Pleasant View and why you're there and why you want to stay there. And then new council members that can bring some fresh light and fresh blood into what we're doing. So if you don't mind, I was just going to share a quick screen. And Bill said, Holland, talk about economic development. Well, that's a big, big subject. So I can talk to you guys a little bit about the Northern Utah initiative that we've taken on. And you can see some of the deal flow that we're working with. But what I would challenge you guys as a council and as a planning district or planning council is to figure out a way. The very, very worst thing that can happen is I solicit a developer and I work with the elected officials and the council, and we bring them there, and then you guys go, nope, no thanks. And we've had that happen time over time in some of our different cities. So if there's a way I can understand what your boundaries are, what you're looking for, where your best real estate nodes are, and something that might be something we want to define together. And the county's taking a very outward approach. Like, why wouldn't we help you figure out what your best real estate options are for the type of market that's going on? And who knows what the market looks like. The office market is a little tough. Manufacturing industry, it seems to be moving along just fine. But I think that understanding what you want the city to look like and then letting the county say, okay, that's awesome, and we want you to do that. Just know that South Ogden looks like this, Far West looks like this. And so you can see what your neighbors all look like and across the county, so we can complement each other instead of compete with each other. And then I think overall we're going to be a little bit better together. And that's something, Bill, if that's okay with you, I'll see if I can share my screen on some of the projects that we're working on right now. So as you guys probably know, over the last 2 years, we worked hard to put a Northern Utah Economic Alliance together. And that means Davis and Weber County teamed up together, and we're recruiting businesses that complement Davis, that complement Weber. And what makes us strong in that is that we have a better political stance right now with leadership in the state. And we have 600,000 people for our workforce in our MSA. And so that gives us power when we compete with Salt Lake and Utah County. So some of the things I just wanted to show you is a lot of people think nothing's gone on in the last few months. These are the project announcements that we've had just since March. And I can't go into a lot of detail about all of them. They're year over year projects that we've been working on for a long time. But this adds thousands and thousands to our workforce in places that we need. These are really high-paying jobs. I'm sure you guys are aware of Northrop Grumman. Amer Sports put one of its biggest international distribution centers right here in Ogden. So we've got a lot of things happening, and we're not doing a good job sharing that message. So there's over 50 projects right now that we're working on, that we're chasing in these different industry sectors. And I think it's important that you guys see that there's a lot of movement out there. So when you go back and you look at what does Pleasant View want to look like overall, maybe there is a place for high-tech industry, or maybe there is a place for, we're seeing a lot in foods and agriculture. And honestly, one of our sleeper industries is life sciences. And I think there's some opportunity for all of our cities to kind of embrace that, but it's got to make sense on the real estate side. So we look at these different companies. Look, IT, which is, I think, is a sector that has been growing under COVID. Our industry, aerospace, obviously has been growing. We just put a new furniture manufacturing company that tripled their revenues over the last 6 months because people are home and they needed furniture. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. You just need to what that looks like for you. the way we recruit business, we do use site selectors. I thought this might be a little bit interesting, and if I'm on the wrong path, Bill, please correct me. But I thought it would be good for you to know this is how we recruit business to Weber County, through site selectors, through individual businesses, through business expansion. But what we're seeing, the trend is industry wants to move out of big cities. And that puts us in a prime place right here at 57% when we're mid-sized and we have available land. So you will see a lot of companies start turning their head towards Northern Utah because we fit that niche where people want to live. We have the recreation opportunities where it's a great place to live. And our cost of living is still relatively low when you compare it to other mid-sized and especially larger business or larger cities. So this sets us in a prime position of all things to say during COVID to start looking at some business and business recruitment. These are some of the industries that have been flourishing at this point. I talked a little bit about biotech, life sciences. So you guys are probably aware in Farmington, Pluralsight just moved out to Utah County. There was a life sciences company that came in and took up all the real estate that Pluralsight took. So we are seeing a lot of real estate transactions going on right now, and we just want to be really, really smart about it. And I think something that, Pleasant View could really capitalize on would be some of this advanced manufacturing and then software and IT, because they want a lifestyle that is easy and comfortable and is not a big city, but has access to all of the cool amenities that you can get there. So this is something that, and I'm happy to send these slides out to you guys so you can look at them in a little bit more detail. But the positive thing is we're seeing 70% of companies think that by 2021, we are going to see much higher activity. So that's why it's really important as a planning commission and as a council, you guys start deciding where those nodes are, where you want to grow, so you can protect the kind of lifestyle that you love and why you want to live there for 20 years and raise your 3 children there and stay there, because growth is happening. We just need to make sure that we put it in the right places. I hope I'm not the bad news girl tonight, but that is part of what we're looking at. So we're not aggressively marketing companies to come into the state right now. We decided to focus on business retention and expansion if possible during COVID. We do have a marketing plan that has site selectors and public relations and things like that. But at this point, that's not their true focus, but knowing that's on the horizon. And that's why I think it's really important that we start focusing on where that makes sense for you guys, and then how that works and what that looks like as you go through the planning commission. One of the worst things we can do is you have a bad reputation saying it's hard to get through the council or the commission. And we have that in a few places in the county. And we've had to work really hard to say no developers or either residential or commercial or office. You still want to look at these areas because this is going to be good for your tax base. It's going to bring you revenues that you don't have right now, which can support the maintenance and the lifestyle that you guys live and have to balance that city budget as you go forward. So these are a few things that we're doing. This is kind of the boring stuff because most of it has been put on hold, or we've have to been real creative about a virtual way that we put it together. So the Northern Utah budget, we have, so one thing I'd like for you guys to have confidence behind in is a lot of the state funding that was approved initially through the legislative session back in February got canceled. There's so much confidence from the state, from GOED, from EDC Utah, from the mayor's office that we didn't. They left our funding in place. So we'd like to utilize these dollars to support our cities in growing in the way you want to grow. And that's truly the county's role, is to support the city councils, the planning commissions, improve the communication between the cities and the county so that we can do this all together and we can understand your goals. I don't know the city like you guys do, obviously. So if there's a way that we can support your goals better, then we want to make sure that that happens. So that is my quick run through that. And I noticed Mayor Call showed up. So nice to see you. And I'd love to take on any questions. You guys, it looks like there's 10,000 residents that live and love being in your city, and how we keep them there and can affordably allow your kids and grandkids to stay there and still support a budget around the city that can maintain that kind of lifestyle. I think we're all successful when those things start to come together.
Oh, and that was awesome. Thank you very much. One question really quick for you. You mentioned that we're kind of in a mode currently, and it's the current mode. It's definitely not the long-term mode, but of retention and business local or existing business expansion rather than going out to recruit new businesses and try to bring them in. I wonder if you could talk about the long-term prospects for retail growth, both in our area and nationally. If you could talk about some of those trends. I know that that's a topic of interest and concern for some of the council members and planning commission members. There's definitely some desire to get that going here if we could. But I wonder if you could talk about what the trends are looking like and if that's a reasonable expectation or if we should kind of dial that back, or what do you think?
What we're hearing from all of the experts in the retail industry is that retail's not dead, but it's a little bit tricky right now because obviously we're telling people to stay home. So we've had to find new creative ways to do retail. I think you will always see storefronts. People want to visit those locations, but it's going to be a little bit delayed, truthfully. I think you do need to have places in your city that you've reserved a retail sector, whether it be beyond one of your main corridors. But if you, I don't think we throw all of our rocks in that one hat at this point, just from what the market trends are saying. We could possibly see a difference in that over the next 6 months, and especially if we see a vaccine, but people just aren't getting out as much. It's too easy to go online. However, our human nature says we do want that interaction. So you will see retail come back alive. It will probably look a little bit different than what we're used to looking like. And that's what the experts in that industry are saying. We want to go to the grocery store. We want to go to the gas station. All those places that we can actually interact with people, I think will still be very sustainable. I think retailers are going to have to reinvent themselves somewhat, understanding that there is a group that does not want to do that, and everything can be done online. Amazon just announced that they're expanding their distribution centers in 6 different cities across the United States. They said that today. So to me, that says Amazon has found a niche. And I mean, I don't know if you guys do Amazon like I do, but I don't know how I would live without it these days. But there's going to have to be a transition in the way retailers look at that. But it is going to be sustainable. It's just going to be a little bit later. Retail will come back before the office market does. The office market hasn't quite figured out what it looks like. And everybody's taken some knee-jerk reactions at this point. You look at companies like Zions Bank, who says, we're not opening our downtown office until the first of the year. Everybody can work remotely, so it works. But you look at other companies where that just doesn't work. So the office, when I actually had lunch with a broker today, who's an office broker, and he said, we're having a few transactions, but nothing at the pace it was pre-COVID. And it's going to take a minute before people feel comfortable coming back and doing that safely. And truthfully, your publicly traded companies can't ask their employees to come back at this point. They have to offer the environment where if you have an option to work at home, you can. And I think people will choose that for a while. We are seeing some inefficiencies in some of our office markets because that just doesn't work across the board. So there's that. What we have found is in industrial and high-tech manufacturing has gone off the charts. We can't find enough real estate that fits some of these companies that are looking from California, from Alabama, from Nebraska, that want distribution centers that are more centrally located or centrally located in the West. So I think you're gonna continue to see that rise. That might not fit your city though. So where you can find and bring together large pieces of real estate. So what we've learned looking across the county, the companies want the right real estate for their business, and they're going to look for that first and foremost. So if we can create different nodes that attract different types of industries, and we can place them in locations across Pleasant View City, then you maintain the lifestyle that you love, yet you generate a revenue base of some sort of industry. And you know, that's truly up to you guys. You obviously are the experts in that field, but we can help support that and bring in some data behind whether the transportation is there, how we can find grant funding, what the tax incentives look like, those kind of things. That's when we start really making some difference, because then I can go to the brokerage community and say, hey, guess what? I've got 7 acres here. I've got 20 acres here. And these are the things that we want to create together as a county and a city to promote growth, because growth is coming. And I know no one wants it to happen, but it already is. And you can see it in the traffic trends as we've been watching them even through COVID. But how we do that so that we protect our lifestyle and we protect the things that we love here. So that's what we'd love to help do with the council and the planning commission.
Colin, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So how do we best share our vision with you of where we want things and what we want? And then also, what can we do to market ourselves?
So what I think would be the best solution to that is if we sat down together and we just laid the map out and said, these are our best opportunities for growth. And then how do we put a marketing package together for that? And I can tap into our EDCU partners to help do that, our site selectors. So once we've defined what we want and it makes sense with the zoning that's in place, what your city guidelines are, then we can take that out to the brokerage community, and I can help you do that. EDC Utah can help you do that from a state perspective. It really just depends on what your level of how much you want it marketed. We can manage that on our state site, our local site, our national sites, and through all of our local brokerage connections. First, we need to define where you would like those to be. And then beyond that, we can take the data out to the communities.
And
Colin,
and once the zoning's in place, is it better for us to have the zoning in place before we attract the businesses?
Well, that's kind of a double-edged sword, because it depends on what type of business you want. So if you're looking at a commercial area, yes, you want it zoned commercial. If you're looking at retail, obviously, yeah, we want that in place so that you can kind of dial people into the right area, and we can market that to the right people. So there's industrial brokers, residential, if you're looking at some multi-housing, which I know high density is not, I didn't want to say that, but we have to find places to put people, and we can do that in a really good way. We don't have to.
Colin, I have a question. So everything that you're saying sounds a whole lot like form-based code. Am I wrong? Bill, we've already kind of designated where our industrial area is, our residential area is, where we want manufacturing. we've kind of done that already. We had a form-based code that we just haven't adopted into our code. And
Well, then I need to know more about that so that I can help market it, because
Yeah.
you can do it as much. We might as well use all the resources we have.
yes, we have a leakage study, we have traffic counts, we have we have a lot of information. It seems like we need to put it all nice and tight for you with a bow and say, here, Holland.
I don't even need a bow. I just need to know the data, and then I can take that out to our real estate partners. And it's really up to you guys how aggressive you want us to be with that. But
well, we need to get some zoning in place and stuff. Like Ann mentioned, there's our commercial corridor in 2700. We're moving forward to proactively rezone all of that commercial because currently it's not. And so doesn't all of that need to be in place when you attract somebody? We don't want to be left holding the, like, oh, oops.
Yeah, ideally you don't want to rezone. So having the master plan already in place is the best if we can attract that right kind of client. Things are so tricky right now just with COVID and the way that people are doing business a little bit differently, but it hasn't stopped industry. So if you've already got that set in place, then we need to get that in our hands so we can push that out. And you know what, it would be a good exercise too, is to make sure it complements with all of your neighbors so that you're not competing with, so businesses don't care where the city boundaries are. They don't care where the county boundaries are. They just want the real estate to work for them. And then if you can tap into state incentives, local incentives, listen, we live in that market. We're not competing with just Salt Lake and even Logan and other cities like that. We're competing with businesses or with cities across the United States. So I typically compete against Austin, even Denver, New York, even at times. So as long as we can have kind of the guidelines of where your comfort zone is, then we'll make sure that we bring the right kind of client there. And what you need is knocks on the door. And then you can decide if that fits your community or not. But if you're not looking at all the opportunities that are coming through the state, that are coming locally, even your opportunities for expansion, then you're missing out on some growth that could happen, which truly is your revenue base. And at the same time, we need to make sure that the residential side is growing. Yeah. And we don't want it to look like a hopscotch of I have a manufacturing facility right next to one of our best residential neighborhoods, and it sounds like you already have that dialed in pretty good.
Colin, I have a question and a scenario if I can.
Sure.
Well, you represent Weber County, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many cities are in Weber County?
18.
So if I was a developmental manager and I was sent out by my owner, let's say Trader Joe's, and
everybody wants Trader Joe's.
Yes, please.
Here too.
No, us first.
So would I go and talk to you first? And then I would ask you for recommendations on where would be a good location in Weber County. And then as a planning commission and city council, how do we make the deal look attractive that out of these 18 cities, you would recommend a Pleasant View 2700 North corridor for this construction? How do we make that work?
So most of the companies make that pretty easy on us because they're looking for a certain amount of land, a certain amount of traffic count, a certain amount of heads on beds within a radius around them. So if you have that piece of real estate that fits for it, then yes, I think that the power behind the collaboration with the county, with EDC Utah, and with what you guys have here locally as a city makes it a lot stronger argument for a company to come in there.
So do we give that to you? Because guess what? We meet every one of those conditions for Trader Joe's. We do. I've gone to their site so many different times and we meet every single one of the things that they're asking for.
But are they actively looking at you too?
No, at the time when I talked to their real estate agent, they had already made those decisions for that year, but he said, call me in the spring. So anyway.
Yeah, no, and I think what would be best is if you prioritize the type of companies that you want in certain areas, which Sarah, you might already have, and I just don't know about that. And once those are set, then we can go look for those companies and push them towards you. But until we know exactly what that is, and maybe not company by company, but industry by industry, like we would love an associated food types company. We would love a life sciences, or I think the IT sector, they're starting to build these little pods in some of our smaller cities because you have the community around it. You have the lifestyle environment that they like. And if you can get high-speed fiber to them and they can build their own little community together, you'll see 5 or 6 small IT software companies that come into these smaller cities that just love it there. And
that brings other things too.
That starts this campus feel. Yeah. And I think that's something that, we're really missing out on, not taking advantage of. Our 5-acre plots, our 7, 10-acre areas that we could really grow into something cool. And that again, keeps the traffic count slower and brings in a very high paying waged job or employer. Sorry, my kid's barking at me. And those are the kind of things that we're looking at to find this kind of the secret sauce of economic development, where you can bring in a developer. It does take city participation, and it's going to take county participation to make that happen. The good thing on that side, the school district is pretty, they like to participate when it's not a huge employer count or somebody that's going to bring in a whole bunch of kids that's going to impact the school district. We'll see what they say.
What do you mean by that? What does the school district do?
So when you talk about tax increment financing, you're talking about a tax break. So we'll freeze the tax rate at a certain place until the development is built out, and then we'll pick it back up. So for a school district, if you're bringing in a multifamily housing opportunity, that's bringing in a whole lot of kids, which is a cost burden to the school district. But if you're bringing in companies that are mainly high-tech employers, we look at a project area is what you typically call it. And that would be an area where Pleasant View City said, hey, this is what we're going to focus on, this type of development. It's office, it's retail, it doesn't bring in a whole lot of kids. You'll see the school district be more apt to participate. The county will participate, and then you guys can participate at some rate as well. And that gives them an incentive to build in Pleasant View City. And we can walk through all that in detail and how that works. But I honestly, I wish I'd looked up beforehand if we had any CRAs. Bill, do you know?
We do have an RDA in Pleasant View along the 2700 North out there by the freeway a little bit. So,
but there's not any opportunity zones, correct?
No, not as such.
Okay. Well, I still think we could find some competitive real estate, but you'll have to kind of guide us on where you think that the best location for that would be.
So it sounds like the City Council and Planning Commission need to kind of have a goal here. What kind of, we kind of have all these kind of pieces floating around. If we have a traffic count, we have a leakage study, we're moving forward with rezoning property, we have a general plan, everything that says this is great for Pleasant View. And now we need to be more specific and say, okay, Planning Commission, City Council, this is what we want to do. Now, Holland, this is what we would like you to do for us.
Yes, and if you would prioritize the real estate and say, hey, this is our main focus, or this is the type of industry we'd like to see beforehand. But if we knew that list, then anytime any of these industry partners came into Utah, then I would know, okay, we have a ready and willing planning commission and city council that's looking to grow this one spot, and this fits that. I just had a 5-acre request come through the state, and I didn't have anywhere to put them, and that's I know, but that's frustrating to me. So that's why we need to have more of these type sessions together, so I can understand what you have what your goals are. Because like I said in the beginning, the worst thing that can happen is if we have a developer that wants to come in and then all of a sudden the city council says, oh no, we're not interested, then we've kind of ruined our opportunity as we move forward. Does that make sense? Because I've had that happen to us, specifically in Ogden City, where we brought in some big development and then the council shut it down. And so the development community is pretty small. That word gets out, and then it's harder to attract more clients beyond that. So
you kind of know what we want, so that when you go attract them, we're ready and we say yes 9/10 of the time, right?
Yes, yeah. And you'll have to work through the details on it. I mean, there'll be some things that work and don't work for your community, and that's, everybody expects that. But as long as we can help push out what your goals are and what you have available, then I think you'll see some traffic run through there, whether it's residential or commercial or retail or any of the industry clusters. Those are all important for us to make sure that we can keep the lifestyle that we want and grow a revenue tax base beyond that.
Holland, I have a few questions for you. So in Pleasant View, the main reason why we're talking to you about this is I don't think any of us really want Pleasant View to grow.
Sure.
But we're talking about tax revenue, right? That's the number one thing. We want commercial because all of us in Pleasant View go spend our money somewhere else, and property taxes are getting higher and stuff.
Right.
So that's the main thing. But what industries are the best tax incentives, or not incentives, best tax base for us as a city? And it sounds like we need to have a little bit of a niche of an industry that we want to have come here. Because I think that's what you're saying is that's happened in a lot of areas. You get a niche and it just attracts more business.
That's true.
So which one of those, what industries maybe are like that? Is that resident or a commercial, storefront kind of stuff, or is it manufacturing? What are those? And then I have a couple more, but keep going. I'll let you talk.
So you're manufacturing right now, because it has a high property tax, because it's a lot of real estate, is one of the best ones, truthfully, for a city. And there's not a high expense that goes with it from an operating standpoint from the city perspective. But that doesn't necessarily mean Pleasant View City wants an industrial park, right? Maybe you don't.
We already have one next door, but we have industrial areas too.
Well, if I may, just for a second, I don't know, Dave, you're in the middle of a flow here, but if I could just interrupt and just show, I'm going to share my screen here and show Holland kind of where our industrial area is. That might be helpful. Then we can kind of talk to that just a little bit.
Yeah. While he's doing that, so what happens if the properties, I mean, we go out and we say, hey, these are commercial areas that we want, but what happens if those properties aren't for sale? I mean, it's not easy for us to force anybody to sell them. So
we need to get them in ahead of time and kind of massage it and work it and say, this is what we're thinking.
So, and that's what we're doing with a couple other cities across Weber County, is saying, okay, there's 5 property owners, and the value of their property one-off is this. But if we can bring it together and say, okay, we could sell it separately, or we could look at bringing in some sort of larger business in this one bigger area. But that's going to take you guys, because you know the local community and you know who might be willing, who might not be, and truthfully, where you want it to go. And so that's what you have to let me know about, so that I can market those areas. And it looks like, Bill, you guys have.
Would it be advantageous to invite those property owners in as a city and work with administration to say, hey, this is our plan, this is what we're thinking, this is how we could help you, you could help the residents?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, because they're going to trust you guys.
Oh, and just by way of explanation, this is, I don't know how familiar you are with Pleasant View. This is where City Hall is, right here in this blue area. Okay. Weber High is this larger blue area. This is the new elementary school that was just recently built, and there's another elementary school here. There's a golf course over here in the light green in the lower left.
Right.
The area that we're seeing for manufacturing expansion is along here. This is I-15 here, and there's a rail corridor that goes here. Can you see that? See where my arrow's going?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have in the light blue, this is kind of our form-based code area. This is where we're seeing kind of a mix of uses and really hoping to have something interesting happen there. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then our general commercial with, the retail focus and, Class A office space and that kind of thing is really along 2700 North. You see in the dark red along here. So that's just kind of our thinking. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments on that?
Is this property all available?
Most of it is. So this along here, along 2700, these lots range from, where's my mouse?
And Bill,
This lot here is about 5 acres. This guy is about 20 acres here. These lots are all through here. Now this lot here is where the new ER has gone, but they've got a large portion of the lot that's around the south and east side that's not developed out yet. This lot just came in for a rezone. This lot also is just recently rezoned. And these areas over here in the light purple, on the north and west portions of the property or of the city, those are all vacant properties right now. This triangle piece right in through here that goes all the way down to the end of Parkland has recently sold, and these guys have an application in for a winery. And so we'll see more of that as it goes through, but they own this whole parcel and they're a pharmaceutical company. And yeah, so these are all currently vacant properties.
Okay, so that's really interesting to see because we've just been working really hard with rail served industrial areas are really key. Is this a UP line, just for my knowledge? Okay. Yep. Yeah, I think, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what we just finished in Ogden City off of 24th Street and the Stockyard Exchange area where there's a restaurant, but there's light manufacturing with Enable, Envy. Some of these companies have come in there and it's these smaller little boutique. I want to use boutique as a relative term because they're large buildings, but not like a BDO or the Weber Industrial Park, but it's kind of these neighborhood industrial areas that would completely service something that had a winery because you've got employees and bringing in light manufacturing and companies like that have access off of rail or have access off of the freeway. So these parcels would be
they're prime.
Great.
Awesome.
And it keeps you away from all the residential where you want the people to be and not necessarily. And I would need to look up if there's any plans for UDOT, or I'm sorry, not UDOT, UTA, or any sort of TOD sites. That's going to be the future. People, there's too many of us and we're going to have to get off the road some. So if you can live in Salt Lake, I mean, we just had Stat Construction try to look at building 1.5 million square feet of office and multifamily in Farmington because it was on a TOD site. So if there's any way we could get public transportation or at least have some proximity to public transportation, I think that's going to be crucial in the future. And that could be a really long-term play, especially along this this corridor right here.
You did have the front runner up here. There is an area with multifamily housing right there. They don't come up here anymore, but we do have a front runner area right there.
Well, and I think you should preserve that corridor because as you move forward, that's going to be how people get to their work because they could live in Salt Lake and in 30 minutes ride a train and be at their job. And or they could live in their apartment and walk across the street, but they could still go down to Ogden 25th Street on the train. So that's what we see as far as what the data says. TOD sites, which is transit orient development, is going to be a major player as we move forward. We will see the office market come back eventually, and residential is just off the charts. So I think you're really smart to put some of these things in that blue area right there, especially right next to the jobs. I mean, that's where people are going to work. So Bill, if you could give me a little bit more detail on some of this information, or I'd happy to bring up, you know, Chris, and he can talk about the region, or if we want to talk just specifically about Pleasant View and what we do to best market the areas you want marketed, then we can put that package together. I think it's important that we have at least an understanding what the council is willing to participate in on an RDA type program, and what that looks like in the long term, and then start putting some of those project areas together. Typically, the county likes to see a project first versus just building out a project area. But maybe in this case, and under the market conditions, if we said this is a prime real estate area for Pleasant View, we could start looking at what that would mean for tax generation, marketing ability, and our ability to really bring in some good businesses in a couple areas. Maybe it's just a 10-acre park, and it has great access.
But it's a start.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to express some concern to the mayor and council and commission. This is my concern is I think we all know what we want, but I'm not sure if we know how to get there at this point. Like, I feel like we need some steps, ABC. The other concern I have is, are our codes in place, are our ordinances in place, so that like we have what we need where we want it, and we have it dialed in how we want it. I feel like, you know, we can't get the cart before the horse. Like, we've got to be prepared and organized, and then let's bring it, you know? So I guess that's where I want to go together. And I don't know how to organize that or get that together, but I feel like that's what needs to happen.
I'm with you, and I was ready to say, okay, step one. Where do we start with step one? We can't entice people to come and have them go away. We have to make sure that our zoning's in place, our code's in place, and everything's set up. We've talked to property owners. You know, we've done all those things.
We talked about the form-based code as the planning commission, but we haven't adopted it. And I'm not, you know,
right.
With it, or we, you know, so we got to get together and decide what this looks like and what we want it to be, get it adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Let me piggyback just for a minute off what Councilman Arrington said, that yes, we know what we want. I find it a little shocking, to be honest, that Holland is unaware of what we have as and where we're at. Just being honest, that, and not pointing at anyone. I just think that it's a little bit surprising that she's not aware of the resources we have at hand. We've got some plans to make property more accessible, and we've got grants for those, and we've got some things in place. We've got a lot of good things going for us, but I think it's still us that doesn't have our ducks in a row, because the person that can really help us market it didn't know about us. So I think that the onus is on us as a council and planning commission to get our act together and get Holland involved such that she really understands what we have and what we want. So we got some homework to do.
Well, absolutely, though. I agree that we need to. That's why we are here tonight.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Holland just outlined the steps to start. Is she needs to get with Bill and probably me and what other staff, and we need to kind of formulate those steps that Ann and Sarah and Kevin have talked about, so we can say, okay, this is the timeline, this is the steps that we need to take, this is how we want to organize this, and then we can identify any shortages that we have. Back to Ann's point, and that is, what do we need to take back to, you know, where does it need to start? Council? Do we need to go to planning commission? We're missing this key piece. Let's get that pushed through, because even though things are slow right now, we want to be in a position that when they're not slow, we're like shovel ready, that everything is ready. Just
right.
People come in and start going.
Mayor Call, you're exactly right. In fact, most of the time, a lot of the requests that come in are, I need a building, and no one's ready to develop on spec right now. I don't blame them. That's their own investment. But I need something in 6 months. And so if the council and the planning commission are ready to pull the trigger, on something that could get approved quickly, then you'll see that traffic continue to tick up. We've seen a dip in a couple industries, but we've also seen a lot of growth over the last even 6 months. People have found Utah affordable and they like the lifestyle here. And truthfully, our workforce is very committed and they can't seem to find that in other places. And so you can see a long-term commitment in our workforce, which has made a difference. And we've gotten that reputation across the nation. So I think that's made a big difference on how we can recruit businesses. But also shame on me that I'm not more educated on your real estate, because that's my job. So I apologize for that. I was aware of some of those parcels, but not so many. So I do appreciate this time, because really the county's job is to support what you guys are doing. And we want to be more actively involved in that. And if we can help grow the city that makes sense holistically from a county standpoint and from your needs, then that's exactly what we want to do.
So it sounds like maybe Holland needs to get together, like you said, Leonard, maybe the next few days, in the next week, and have Bill give her all the information that we have so that you could review it and say, okay, this would be nice if you met with these property owners, you need to get your zoning in place, and you can help educate us, the administration, and then they, like exactly what Leonard said. So is that step one? Is that what you guys are saying?
That's perfect. You know what step one was? The fact that you guys are willing to work together.
Okay, step two.
So that makes a great step one. And so step two, yeah, if I can get the data and I can get some direction from you, let me go to work.
So I have a follow on to that as well. Ann and Sarah and I participated in a call a couple of weeks back with you, Holland, and Chris Roybal and some of the other folks from EDC Utah and from Nuke and from these other organizations. And we talked a lot about site selection and what is key in getting people to look at our community and locating their business here. I wonder if as we go forward with this, a lot of the information that we've had is a little bit outdated and maybe geared towards retail kinds of expansion and growth and that kind of thing. I wonder if you could help us have a little bit more direction as far as what information communities communities can put together to give to these folks that are looking to come out here so that it's attractive. We make sure that we're at the top of everyone's list of this is the place we want to be.
Sure. So there's probably two things. So we are creating a national database of real estate. And it pushes out to the national list of site selectors and brokers companies across the nation. So once we do have that dialed in from what Pleasant View City sees as their most attractive and you prioritize your real estate, we can make sure that that's part of the program. That dovetails exactly into why we put this regional effort in together, and we have a huge database for that. But secondly, beyond that, and we've worked with a couple different companies, Zion's Public Financing being one of them, so I know West Haven has recently hired them. The county is contracted with them. And what they do is put kind of the form-based code on steroids. So they'll take a look at what the most prominent areas of real estate would be, what that does to your budget, how that could potentially impact your revenues from a tax standpoint, depending on what type of industries end up there. And then really overall what your average incomes and everything are, and then how that will be impacted as we bring in these different industries. And maybe that's something that you look at as a third-party consultant to provide that specific data. I can reach out from a marketing standpoint, but I can't provide that in-depth of data if that's something that you're looking for. Anywhere from probably a $20,000 to $30,000 contract could give you really good in-depth public finance data on what would happen if certain nodes lit up and when they lit up and how that would impact your budget, and maybe even where some of the best places to spend that on maintenance, because obviously if you start building roads, you're going to have to maintain them.
How long
and
do those studies take to compile?
not too long. I mean, I could probably call a couple people and have them provide some proposals if that's something you'd be interested in. That would just, from a pure numbers data standpoint, and then also look at different project areas that would most be best for RDAs, just from the financial standpoint of those.
Is that added to the National Registry and what you solicit for on behalf of us, whatever that study would be?
So we would take that data and you guys would define what specific areas would be most beneficial for you. And then in our financial packages that we would send out to the brokers, we could support, that could be supportive data behind the real estate.
Okay.
It gives population growth projections, education levels, all those different, demographic data to show within a 2, 3, 5, 10 mile radius, what your travel times are, what your average incomes are, what the best industries are that complement the type of real estate that you have, including your access, your rail, your TODs possibilities, your zoning. So it just gives you a snapshot of some of your best real estate options. If that's something you're interested in, I'd be happy to have a couple people give you guys a call and y'all can talk through that. If you feel like you have your handle on it, then we can just start marketing what you have.
Don't we need to get the property owners together and have a buy-in from them?
I think that would be really important because you can't have any holdouts on that. And you also need to have that same kind of, it sounds like, commitment that you have from the Planning and City Council Commission at this point, that these would be our high growth areas. And this is why, and this is how it overall benefits.
Helps you, helps us.
Yeah.
Let's work together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you go as far as having conceptual drawings of, potential, designs?
Like renderings and things like
Yes.
that? Yeah, we could help you find that. That would again be third party. I could probably find it really cheaply through EDC Utah, but pictures go a million miles. So if we could put some master plan industrial park or residential area that complements where your buildings are, I think that goes a long way in starting to pitch some of that as well. And it also proves that you've invested in it, and the brokerage community sees that in a big way. So
that we're serious.
Yeah.
It depends on how serious we want to be, you guys, for reals. If this is the way that we say, we wait and, when it comes, but I think Leonard and Kevin and all of us have been here for so long. How much longer are we going to wait till they come? I think that the game goes to the people who want it the most. So how much are you going to solicit?
They're coming. You just want them to come in an organized fashion.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
She said the growth is coming. It's already here, but we just need to know this is exactly what Holland said. How do we maintain our vision while embracing this growth? And I think that after watching what Bill set out about the meeting on Friday that he watched and listening to the meeting that we've had tonight, I think we're in a very exciting situation because we are in Northern Utah. Listening to the city planner that I got to meet in Moab from Taylorsville, I mean, they're full. They have no land. They can't build anywhere. They're packed. And that's kind of the trend that we're seeing all the way northward. I mean, they've built and built and built and built. And so they are looking northward. And so we have the real estate, we have the land in Northern Utah. And so we do need to decide, and we do have a vision and we do know what we want for Pleasant View. So let's figure it out. Let's put it down on paper. Let's get these zones down. Let's get it done. And let's get these businesses. As I also know, like in my GIS class in college, how we reenacted how they figured out how to get Farmington Station put in. They did a GIS map doing the population studies and all these different figures, what Holland was talking about. And they wanted to know where to put in this shopping center, where it would be great. And so if we can put these numbers together and maybe draw out a map and show to these places like Trader Joe's or wherever we want to come here, where would be profitable, and maybe we could show that this is going to be a hot spot, especially if like all these companies and industries that were on that first slide are coming to Northern Utah. This would be a good spot for places like that to put their location, to put their business down. So we do have a really good opportunity to build what we want here, and we should embrace this growth with keeping our vision.
I appreciate you saying that, on top of the fact that what the county owes to you guys is an understanding of the businesses that are coming in. So you understand who is moving into the county. So you can complement that with what you're doing in your city. So we've seen a couple businesses double in size out at the Ogden Airport, out at BDO, out at the Weber Center. We've got a couple different pretty high profile companies looking at Northern Utah right now, mainly on the manufacturing and industrial side. We are about to finish a $60,000 study on a mega site out in Western Weber County. So when we talk about what fits Pleasant View City, we don't want to compete with what's coming or already here. But that's why I think this communication is important, because we can complement it with what your vision is and make sure that we're attracting the right businesses, and talk about it in a more holistic picture versus each city being siloed into just exactly what they want, because we're going to be more successful overall if Hope remains more residential, but Pleasant View can embrace an industrial area and a commercial area, and that way, as a county, we're better together.
So then my next question is, Bill, what do you need from us before you meet with the mayor and Holland, so that you have everything you need to meet with her to go forward with the next step?
Well, I'm curious about that. Holland, we do have, as Sarah mentioned, we do have a leakage study that was performed a few years back. We can get traffic counts and things like that. But again, that information is really heavily geared towards retail things. An industrial park doesn't care necessarily about traffic counts, for example. They're more interested in population dollars or population figures and
access.
And rail access or transportation access, which we have, and you know, that just is the luck of the draw with Pleasant View. Yeah. But what makes us unique and how that plays into our benefit, those are questions that maybe we ought to get together and talk about with the mayor.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just about to say, in answer to Sarah's question, is, you know, step one is we don't know what she needs, and so we need to get with her and find out show her what we have and see what shortfalls we have so that we can gather that information.
Sure. And then maybe from there decide if we want to invest in that type of study.
Yeah,
we know that we know we need to rezone 2700. That was a question you proposed to the council, so we needed to move forward with that no matter what. But
we're doing that. We're doing the things that I think that we can think of that will help. But Holland will definitely have ideas that we haven't thought of. And we can discuss those things and talk about the different properties that are available. The zoning is in place for much of the industrial area. What was in the light purple, that's already zoned for light manufacturing, and so that could go anytime. The real question up there is going to be infrastructure concerns. There are no roads in through there. And the big one is water. We've had some people look at it and they had extremely high water needs. And I think that's why they pulled away, was because Bona Vista, which services water up through there, just said where this is going to take a major investment on the part of the developer to put anything in. And so I don't remember what the exact figures were. Mayor, do you remember what the numbers were? It was upwards of like 50,000 gallons a day or something like that. Yeah. It was a lot. So
I think it was more than that even.
I think it was more than that, but it was, and anyway, and it as far as an overall employee impact, number wise, it wasn't that huge. I think it was 100 employees to start out with, and then work their way up to 300. But anyway, they liked the site. We got in and talked to the people about it, but then eventually I think they pulled away because of the water question. And the reason I'm mentioning all that is because these are priorities that the city needs to decide now what we're willing to participate in. If we're willing to pay $1 million towards someone to come in and put in a water infrastructure that will help their business, that's one thing. The zoning and all of the rest of it is kind of the low hanging fruit. Where companies really want to see that the city's invested is literally they want to see some dollar figures maybe. And sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. Like if that same company had come in and they had already budgeted and anticipated that they were going to have to put in $1 million worth of water improvements, that's just their cost of doing business. They wouldn't have breathed hard about that at all. Just this particular one that we were looking at didn't pan out because the water situation was problematic for them.
I think one of the things that's caused me concern is how do we help? We got a lot of, if you drive along 2700 North, you will see a lot of signs up that the developers, property owners are trying to bring people in. They're trying to sell their pads that they've already got going there, and nobody's coming in. And so one thing I want to figure out is how do we as a city help those people that are trying to recruit people to come in, especially in those areas. They're commercial or retail pads that are shovel ready. And how do we help them market their properties?
I think so. I think she talked about their renderings. If we could show them what it looks like to have businesses there and what we could do for traffic and all sorts of stuff, what it looks like, we can get that's ready for Holland to go out and market it for us.
Well,
Right, and we want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases between LoopNet, our internet sites, and then we've got so many up and coming brokers that are starting to turn towards Northern Utah, because we have about a $10 per square foot difference when you talk about real estate value or purchasing price. So a company from California says, I want to be in Salt Lake, and then they see the land basis and they say, oh wait, I'll expand my search 35 more miles. So all of a sudden we're capturing this bigger market that used to not look at Northern Utah, because our land, and Sarah, I think you said this earlier, we have available land, and that's pretty unique in a lot of areas. So that's why I think as, what you guys are doing right now is so thinking smart, because you're planning out what makes best sense for your city, and then we can go put it in the right places. Because Alicia, as you said, they're coming. Let's make sure that we preserve what we love. So
and get the property owners on board with that ahead of time, help them capture our vision. So to what Leonard said and what Dave said, is there anything else besides that we can help these property owners sell their property? Anything else?
Is the city willing to offer incentives, tax incentives to developers?
We have.
That again goes back to the question that I was talking about earlier. We have offered incentives to businesses that do exist in our RDA. Data Machine expanded, for example, and they got some additional tax refunds through our RDA. And that's going to expire here in the next little bit. We're going to have to look at either extending that or renewing that or whatever. But again, the question goes back to, like I said, with that business that came in, that was a real thing. And those people really did want or would have done the project maybe if Bonavista had already had its water infrastructure in place.
But was there another spot that you could otherwise have shown them? I'm wondering, that might have fit their needs? No?
No, these guys wanted more acres than just like something along 2700. They needed the rail access. So
we don't want to accommodate businesses that aren't right for Pleasant View either, right? I mean,
well, yeah. And so that's what I'm getting at. the council needs to really decide this, because you're the ones that control the purse strings. Is this something that is what you want and need enough that you're willing to pay for it? Because you represent a lot of residents and their tax dollars, and that's a sacred trust. So we want to make sure that it's in the right direction.
And the financial review of any RDA will tell you that, what the long-term payoff will be. And we've set up a new program in the last 3 years as we look at these different solicitations that come through the county asking for tax increment financing, and what that means to our current budget and what that means for our long-term budget, and if it makes sense. And in this case, we've had a number of companies recently that it totally makes sense, because the long-term payoff is more beneficial than if we didn't have that there. And that's just a process we're gonna have to go through together as a county and a city to understand if it financially matches your budget, matches your long-term vision for what the master plan of your city looks like, and works with the lifestyle that you guys have. So I think that's something we can get through. And fortunately, you've already had some RDAs in place, so you're not reinventing the wheel. But it will take, when a company comes in and says, I'm asking for 100% over 20 years, and you say, yeah, that doesn't really work. But what about 70% and what that does to your budget?
Right.
So next step,
Bill,
go ahead.
Everybody on this call, I would say, is type A. Some of us are probably in triple A. Would you be able to put together some kind of a punch list, or just like a steps for action, what we need to do? Can you bullet that out for us? Just like, I got to check off a list. I got to know what's first and next and next. And then I'll
list maker.
And then I can take my assignment and go. But I'm feeling like in a whirlwind. I just need like A, B, C, D. Can you?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think this was a lot, since this is the first time that we've actually met together. Bill, thank you so much. I think this is really cool that you guys would sit together as a governing body to make sure that you're watching over your constituents and your city the best way possible. I could put together maybe some prioritization of what would be helpful to come from the Planning Commission, from the council. I think either Mayor Call or Bill, you said this earlier, you guys are going to have to define what that looks like. And then I can let you know from a county perspective, okay, that makes sense, except for this. So let's go back and relook at it. But why don't I come up with some things that would be helpful from the county in a way that we could help grow and market some of the real estate. And Bill, I'll work with you on that. And then we could come back to the Planning Commission and the council and say, hey, this might be the best overall long-term outlook for Pleasant View, but let's bite this one off first. And then let's
well, that sounds great. I think I'm with Ann. All this information is great, but and now what? And now what? And so that's awesome. And are you guys going to meet together? Are you and Leonard and Bill going to meet together before you get that list? Or are you going to meet together and talk about?
Sounds like we're going to meet together tomorrow morning, huh?
Woohoo! Yes, sounds good to me. Sooner the better.
I'm wide open tomorrow morning.
We'll do our best. We'll meet this week if we can find a time, if that works. Bill and Mayor Call, I have both of your contacts information. I'll send some times that work for me. Let's come up with this punch list to give back to the councils if that works for you guys. And then let's go to work.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. And then Bill will send us a follow-up of your meeting together while Holland works on the punch list.
Right. And is there any other data I can provide for you guys at this point? Is there anything else that that would be helpful from a county perspective? Any collateral, anything that I can do at this point, or should we just wait and?
I think we need to have our meeting first. Okay. It's exciting and it's good that the council and the Planning Commission want to get into the weeds, but we ought to figure out what kind of weeds they're going to get into before,
right.
So.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will send you guys a message of a few times that we could meet, maybe even as early as tomorrow or Thursday or Friday, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Holland. We are super excited.
Thank you.
The first of many, I'm sure.
We need to call this meeting adjourned. Does it have to be official?
We'll call that part of it adjourned.
I think it's just a workshop.
Okay.
We can certainly excuse you. if you
Yeah,
need to go.
Bill's got some more
Well,
things on the
thank
agenda.
you. I have two really hungry children right now, so
Okay.
I'm.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Holland.
Holland. Thank
We
you.
probably didn't anticipate being that long, but we
No.
appreciate you staying
My
with us.
pleasure. Thank you so much. All right. Have a great night.
Guns up.
You too.
Guns up.
Oh,
Thanks, Holland.
So are we done with the planning commission staff and council portion, or I know you guys still have a regular meeting to take care of. so-
No, we don't have a meeting.
This
You know,
was
I
it.
Looking
This
at
is a
the
special
agenda,
meeting.
Bill,
Oh,
I think we can delay some of this until after, I think we need to go to
Yeah.
this next step and identify some of this stuff that you've put there.
Yeah.
That's kind of the stuff we need to talk to Holland about.
I
And
agree.
really, that was more of a placeholder. I didn't anticipate the conversation going quite this long, but I knew it would go longer than the 15 or 20 minutes that we all kind of think that it's going to go, and then it ends up going an hour and a half, and here we
It
are.
was good. It was good.
Awesome and absolutely worthwhile, and I have learned a lot, and I'm excited. This is great stuff. Holland, we've met with Holland before, and the mayor and I have, and we're excited about what she does and what she can help us with. And
I would
we'll
like
get
to
that-
get Chris involved from EDC.
Chris Roybal, yeah, absolutely.
And so those things, hold on to those agenda items while you guys
Yes.
meet and she gets us a list and then we regroup.
Right. And just so that you can keep in the back of your mind, these items under numbers 4 and 5, but in particular number 5 on your agenda, where there's 3 different categories of things where we're going to have different people working on different aspects of that. One of the things that I learned early on in my career when it comes to economic development is that nothing happens unless you have a champion behind these things. So once we've set up some goals and things and we look towards moving forward, we kind of brainstorm some different areas where we're going to need champions to push the thing through. And that's where I came up with the A, B, and C under number 5. So if you have a particular interest in being a champion for any one of those areas, or working on those things, please let us know, let me know, and we'll get that word around. And in particular, if you want to be a champion, you don't need to speak up right now, but think about it, ponder it.
I think we need to add a D. Keith made a very valid point earlier, and that is we've got to get these landowners involved sooner than later. Somehow we've got
Yes.
to either get them together as a group or even meet with them individually, however we do it, but we need to find a strategy. So I don't know if you want to make that D.
Yeah, we can do that. I like that.
Absolutely. I think that that's essential in this process.
Okay, I like it.
Well, before adjourning, if I can, representing the Planning Commission, I want to thank the mayor and city council for being so supportive of the work that we are heavily involved in. It's comforting to know that most of our recommendations are approved or denied by the city council on our behalf or on our recommendations. So thank you for that. At least we feel like we're marching in the same beat.
I apologize for my conflict. We had, obviously, the truth and taxation hearing for the fire department was planned well before this one, and I'm sure Kevin did a great job in my absence. So, or whatever happened, who knows? Hopefully it's on YouTube so I can.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much,
Do we have
everybody.
another meeting on the agenda to meet like this again? Are we going a month? Are we going quarter? What are we doing?
I thought we thought about going month to month for at least for the first quarter.
That's what I thought. That's what I'd hope. I mean,
That's what I would like to do.
we talked a lot today, but it's mostly with Holland. Now it'd be nice to, as the mayor described after your meeting, know what kind of weeds we're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can plan for a month, and then it sounds like Holland's pretty free to meet with us and get going, so that's good. And I'd like to keep it on the front burner, and with her and with this group. So,
Okay.
like I said, I think the philosophy of the city needs to be when things take off, we're going to be ready for it. And it's pretty simple, but it's I think that will position us to be ready, because it will take off sooner or later. People are going to start building restaurants and other things again. Maybe not great big box stores like we're used to, but that's okay. Maybe we don't want that anyway. But boy, I sure could use some restrooms and
Well, like she said, things are changing though, and I think it's
that's
just
only
a
if we
new
put
way. I would love restaurants too, but I think it's in a new, different way. But I think that what you're saying is absolutely on point.
I mean, we might get a smaller thing like a similar to a Trader Joe's or something like that, but you know,
That would be awesome.
I think the days of Targets popping up and that are going to be really, really, yeah, you'd have to be a major coup to get one of those. Or
We're a grocery store.
I'm not sure we want one, but you know.
I do.
I'm looking at possible dates here while I've got everybody just to think about, and we can talk about it more and do emails and stuff, but I'm looking at the 15th of September is a Tuesday. Does a Tuesday night seem to work for everybody?
The third Tuesday.
That would be the third Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that works.
Let's do that.
Let's pencil that in, and we'll send out emails to everybody and just make sure that everybody's okay with that. But let's plan on that for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
all. I'm going to check out. Appreciate all of you and everything you do. It's a great city.
I'm excited,
Great
Keith. This is
organization.
awesome.
Thanks, Keith.
You bet. Take care, folks.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Do we need
So-
to make a motion to adjourn?
No. I got told no by Bill.
Okay.
It's a
No,
party.
you don't need to. It's just a workshop. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
This is good. Good things are happening. This is awesome.
It's exciting.
For anybody on YouTube, we're adjourned.
Yay. Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. That was awesome. I learned a lot.